o'clock in the morning. And, good morning. Now it's on. Shit, okay. So it's the Wake and Bake. I'm Buck Stallion. You know who your boy is. It's your boy. And, we are sitting here. I'm sitting here with my homie, Anonymous Steve. Steve Anonymous is what we call him. And, we are talking about stuff and things, and I was like, dude, why is this not on the podcast? And he's like, well, because it's early in the morning, and some people don't want to talk about this stuff. But I'm like, dude, everybody wants to talk about this stuff. But actually, now that we're kind of, like, we've talked about everything, now we almost kind of feel like we're out of stuff to talk about, but that is not the truth. There's always stuff to talk about. Hashtag Flat Earth. You are now listening to the Wake and Bake podcast with Buck Stallion. Skyrim. If you haven't played Skyrim, then you don't have an ancient PlayStation like me. So I'm sitting here with Steve Anonymous. How are you doing this morning, Steve?
I'm okay.
Oh, he's doing the Federal voice changing app.
It's a lovely morning.
So, no, we were. Me and Steve here were talking about, we were actually recapping an episode from the February 4th, which is the DJ Chopsticks and Me 420. We're doing the 4th of every month because the 4th of every month is still 420 because it's the year 2020.
Oh, right.
And so we're trying to get together on the 4th of every month so that we can do a 420 show. Right. But I don't know how that's going to work because he's one of those shifty characters. That's you know how DJs are. They're just always sleeping in or DJing. You know what I mean?
Playing obnoxious music.
Speaking of, so we played some obnoxious music on Saturday. I played like 7 hours of Sly One. Dick in Your Face music, which I thought was a good tribute. I thought it was kind of funny because afterwards his mom was like, there wasn't as many cuss words as I thought there was going to be. And I was like, because you were sitting by the buffet table where all the bass was. You couldn't hear it. But those of us that were out where the tweeters were, aiming, you could hear every enunciation.
Tuna can girth.
Yeah, tuna can girth. He's the guy with the tuna can girth. But yeah, we're in Santa Cruz where a typhoon has hit recently. Apparently in Kirkwood, it's 206 miles an hour winds right now. But here in Santa Cruz, it's not as windy today as it was yesterday, but there was a lot of turned over trees and uprooted. Eucalyptuses. It's been very soggy here because everything just got ripped out of the ground like they were a bunch of possessed Groots, just taking out the fucking traffic. So, Steve, what do you think about Flat Earth?
I find it really interesting.
Yeah.
I went down that road like 2015, I guess, is when it kind of hit.
Well, yeah, there was like rappers tweeting about it and stuff back then.
Yeah, like B.O.B. Well, then you got like some professional sports basketball players and stuff. Because like, I guess like 2015 is kind of the year that it like kind
resurfaced,
right?
Because it was before Galileo, right?
No, it actually, I mean, from the research I found out it never left.
Oh. There's always been flat earthers.
There's always been flat earthers. But until, like YouTube, the narrative's been controlled. You know,
oh, right.
Like not anybody can get on CNN and fucking say whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean? But now that we have the internet, we can communicate, and you know, and YouTube allows people to put out content, whatever. So there, you know, one of the things that surprised me when I started looking into it was there was a video from like a well done, like a professional documentary from, but you could tell it was from like the 70s or 80s, you know, more likely. And it was like a British documentary, and they were like talking about like basically, you know, these experiments that, you know, that it's not conclusive that we're on a ball.
Right, right.
And I'm like, oh shit, so like there's been people, but obviously they're not getting a platform.
Right,
you know,
and they're not getting the exposure.
Of course.
That would have changed the narrative for the world.
Right.
Or at least given some hope to their narrative, right?
But yeah, I came across it in 2015 because I watch a lot of alternative facts videos or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
And it was like, it popped up in my recommended, I saw like, you know, Flat Earth or whatever. And of course, like everybody else, the first time it popped up, I was like, I laughed, you know, whatever. I was like, get the fuck out of here. And I didn't watch it. And then like it popped up across my recommended feed again, like a week.
Same video? Or just different?
Maybe same one, maybe
different
a different
regurgitations
one.
of
At
ideas.
the time when I jumped on, there was just a few people. That was like Mark Sargent. I think the big one that kind of kicked everybody in was Eric Dubay. And I think it might have been his.
Is that the one that I roasted? Did you see the one where I did the flat Earth thing? And it was this guy, and he was talking about a rocket and whatever, and I paused it, and I just started...
the rocket guy is different, but Eric Dubay was one of the... He put out a book and a DVD called 200 Proofs.
Okay.
That the Earth is not a ball, or 200 Proofs the Earth is flat or something.
Huh.
And he kind of, the same story I'm about to tell, kind of kicked off a few other people, and now there's like a few... I don't know if you want to call them leading researchers, but leading advocates or voices that spawned from these couple first videos, you know, because what it did was like me. So anyway, so the second time I see it cross my feed, I'm like, what Flat Earth? I was like, all right, that's a pretty big fucking claim. Let's see pretty ridiculous claim in my
let's see
opinion at the time.
So
it's like, what do you got to say? Because that sounds pretty fucking ridiculous. I'll hear you out.
Right.
You know.
Right.
What's your pitch, dog? You know. And I started watching it, and I would see these points that they would bring up, and I was like, oh fuck, wait, oh.
So like,
shit.
what are some of the ones that really made you kind of second guess your own reality?
Oh, fuck. I haven't, you know, obviously I haven't given it much thought in a while.
Yeah.
You know, I kind of like...
Well, I just thought maybe there was like one or two that stuck out in your mind. Like
well,
that you were like,
the moon landing, faking stuff.
But I also feel like that was a political move. I feel like we had to come up with footage.
Whether we did or not, it's still fucking fake, right? So even if we did it for political reasons, we didn't go to the moon. So that doesn't prove that the Earth is round.
So you don't think we went to the moon?
I don't think we went to the moon. And one of the reasons why, because the more you dig into this, they talk about the Van Allen. And we haven't been back since. You know, I remember...
Well, because I feel like, I mean, again, this is just my perspective of what I've found. To me, it seemed like it was because there wasn't shit out there. We went there and we were like, there ain't shit here.
There's bases of scientists in fucking Antarctica.
Yeah.
You know, you really think that we did the greatest feat of human history, which was going to the moon, and they'd be like, yeah, it's just rocks.
I think that I think that it wasn't a resourceful place for a human.
How do you know? They fucking drove a buggy and fucking put a flag on it and then came back and were like, oh, nothing.
Yeah.
That's not science. I mean, they're going to be fucking really...
Well, they brought the shit back and they took
That's
time.
what they say.
I mean, Did you hear... Okay, so one of the things that is funny about that
and like,
is the fake moon rock we gave, like, Russia or something.
Yeah.
Or the Ukraine.
Yeah.
We ended up just giving them some bullshit, like, volcano
And they're
rock.
like, yeah, it's bullshit.
Yeah.
Like,
but that's what they say, too. Like, again, you know, like, we're not, like, real good homies with those people. So why wouldn't they fucking try to debunk us and say, dude, they didn't even give us a real moon rock? You know what I mean?
If we're not good homies, how do we know they're not saying the truth?
Right.
Because
No,
I would expect my homies to be like, you know, if I said, oh yeah, I fucking bagged this badass chick the other night, my homies go, oh yeah, dude, she was fucking
was
hot.
dope. Yeah,
and
yeah.
then the fucking dickhead at the end of the bar that doesn't like
She
me
was
was
a
like, dude,
cow.
yeah, that bitch was fucking ugly, dude. Like, what
How
are
many
you-
drinks did you have?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, so you'd almost expect.
But that's what I'm saying about the political side of it is like, you know, like it was the space race. You know, who was
Well,
going
that's
to get
also
to,
the story we've been told the
Yeah.
whole time, right?
Well, because dude, the Russians put out
Sputnik.
some funny shit too.
Right.
You know what I mean? But
I mean-
they also sent people without, like, that's what this tattoo's all about. Sasha Konkin put this on me because it's about Russians sending a man, a monkey, and a rat to outer space, knowing they weren't going to be able to bring them back.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And like how, like that's why there's 4 rockets, because we don't know how many real times they sent somebody out there and they were like, "Hey, Boris number 3,
Yeah.
tell your family goodbye.
Yeah,
We're
yeah.
going to try and
Well, I
figure
was
it
just
out. Bye."
picturing like a couple Russians like showing up to some fucking lady. She got the babushka on or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, like fucking,
Well, dude,
we're sorry, Mrs. Boris.
Yeah,
Fucking,
no.
you
Well,
know,
that was the thing.
Please take this bread as an apologization from the government.
The NASA usually only like books astronauts that don't have a lot of family. But you know what I mean?
Well, that's
Kind of
also
like KGB.
too. That also
shit.
keeps the fucking secret close,
Right.
right? That's less people that are.
But
gonna
Russia
know.
was fucking trying to come up with national heroes, and so they were sending Boris, who has 17 kids, and you know what I mean? And everybody, okay, we're sending Boris, and they're making big, you know, noises about it, and then like he's not coming back.
I think, also, too, going back to the political
For sure.
aspect of it with the space race is, at the time we didn't know we couldn't get there.
Right.
You know what I mean?
So we tried.
So I think that race was real
Yeah.
in that respect. And then when we faked
Melted
it,
somebody or
well,
whatever
we
happened.
faked it, though,
Yeah.
right? And Russia's like, dude, we can't compete with, we don't have Hollywood.
Yeah. Yeah.
All those inventions,
Yeah, they
all
tapped.
that technology, they're like, yeah, we
Kubrick,
can't.
I'm out.
We can't. They faked it. I can't do that. So
Yeah.
fuck it. Yep, you won.
Yeah. But again, like, I feel like a lot of that was but that's where I'm kind of torn, because I feel like we probably might have gotten there, but then at the same time,
Well, here's the thing that gets me, right? Is if we had gone there and we haven't been back, like, and you also, the more you like watch all these videos and you see clips of astronauts saying,
yeah,
essentially sometimes they'll fucking, slip up,
right.
and like one of them, like I saw
What's
one.
his name said, "Oh yeah, I went to Mars."
I could go to Mars in a nanosecond, or the moon in a nanosecond, but, unfortunately we destroyed the technology and it's really a painful process to build it back. And it's like, oh yeah, well then what the fuck are you guys doing every year?
Yeah. What's the progression then?
Well, what do you?
So now we're digressing.
There's also another clip of like a Senate, like a congressional hearing, where they're trying to get more money, and the senator's like, okay, so what's your next goal? And he's like, well, we're gonna go to Mars and da 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 da, and like, I can't count it. It's also early, but it's like, and the guy's like, oh, well, we're working on that, and he's like, well, what are you doing now?
Yeah.
Like, and the guy's like, no, we're working. And he wouldn't answer the question. You know what I mean? There's a
Right,
lot
right.
of fucking shifty.
Yeah.
And the thing is, you have to really dig into this stuff. And kind of like, I don't know if I said it on this podcast or if we were talking about it before you started.
Right.
But the narrative is super controlled.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So, like, we're not hearing these Senate arguments and we're not hearing, all these other things. We're not seeing these clips until now where people,
Yeah.
it's just like, I also tell it to people too who are like, oh, where'd you learn that? Fucking YouTube or whatever. And it's like, just because you're not an official source doesn't mean you don't know what you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
For example, look at music. Like, how many people I know that know so much crazy music that's not popular or released or whatever, but that doesn't mean that they don't know what they're fucking talking about.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean that these bands weren't
Legit.
legit.
Yeah.
You know, just because
Yeah.
they weren't Justin Bieber level fucking stardom doesn't
Yeah.
mean that they're not fucking legitimate.
Well, and that's such a small percentage. You know,
Right.
we're talking.
You know,
there's 3%
or
of the
people,
musicians
you know,
in the world that actually
and,
are heard
or
of.
how many people are just fucking studious
Yeah. Yeah.
and they're not at your fucking university.
yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
or you know, and to even touch on that is like there's an old saying. It's like those who can't teach.
Yeah.
You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
Yeah. No, that's true.
So it's like just because
Those who can't do,
Right.
educate.
right.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
those who can, they're out there doing it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like just because you know your sources are telling you whatever doesn't mean that they're authoritative in any fucking way,
Right.
or that
Well,
there
and-
aren't people
And
out
that's
there.
scary now too. If you think about the way colleges are, they're manifesting their own protocols now.
Well, I saw a really interesting breakdown of that stuff too. Like, you know, that they're having authoritative, like, so now you can go to college and get a degree. Like, I've got a degree in like Wu-Tang,
Yeah.
you know, like
Yeah.
bullshit degrees. And then they'll prop those people up in the news because they're like, oh, this is a professor at fucking such and such. And they'll have some opinion about something totally else.
Yeah.
But then that feeds to the authoritarian because they're like, well, he's a professor, so blah, blah, blah. And you're like, wait, do you know what he's a professor of?
He's a professor of
If you
Wu-Tang.
actually looked into it, yeah, he's like, you know, fucking, you know, underwater basket weaving.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
you're like, wait,
yeah.
but they were talking about economics of da-da-da-da-da.
Yeah.
Which he has nothing to do with. But the news, all they need is that professor.
Yeah. Or
For you to
MD,
go like,
or-
well, it was official because he said.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And so there's so much deception that I think, you know, people have a hard time kind of opening their minds and broadening and
Well-
understanding that just because somebody's not authoritative doesn't mean that they don't have a source or an idea. And this is just to give some groundwork to some of these arguments, right?
Right.
A starting point. So when we bring up this or that, let's just right out the gate go, hey, they don't have to be fucking blah, blah, blah for this to be something that we can think about.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and that's like whenever I blasted whenever I did the flat Earth video, like I got a lot of hate mail on YouTube. It was the most views I'd gotten on some of my shit just because I'd you know titled it with a clickbait.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I said, my response to
And it's so polarizing too. I mean,
Yeah.
I think there's so many people that one
It's like-
won't even take the time to look into the argument, and that's always been my thing because it's just like I was saying, like it came across my desk the second time, and I was like,
okay,
all right, well, what do
let's
you
see
gotta
what your
say?
arguments
Yeah.
are. Yeah, yeah,
you know.
yeah.
And there's so many people that just flat out like won't, flat out.
They just flat Earth won't look it up.
You know, or even consider it. Like they're just chomping at the bit for their ridicule. And that's what a lot of it is. If you look at a lot of flat Earth stuff, it's just ridicule against them and not like, no, let's have a discussion.
Right, right.
It's, you're fucking stupid. And
Yeah.
not like, no, let's listen. Because this guy isn't fucking stupid.
Right, right.
You know what I mean? And that's the thing. There's actually like a saying in the flat Earth community that's how did you become a flat earther? I tried to debunk the flat Earth.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and I think that's how a lot of people have been switching their political views now too.
Right.
You know, with Trump.
Right.
Like, dude. So I got hella sick. You know, I had like a kidney stone, and then I got the flu, and I had my cousin who's like a forklift driving like warehouse worker come over and just pound the shit out of my back with CBD lotion. Mm-hmm. And I got all the muscles in my back to like actually release the toxins and everything.
Sounds like fascism.
It was great. But as I'm laying there and I'm starting to feel better, you know, he's a liberal, and him and his wife are like really hardcore anti-Trump. It
Right.
doesn't matter what else they go for. I just know they're anti-Trump.
Right.
And me, apparently, I just found out I've been a Republican since I was 18. Mm-hmm. But I didn't realize, because I just registered so that I could vote for things that like petitions, because I was trying to help people make their 70 cents a petition out in front of the grocery store.
Yeah.
To me, I was just helping a person do their job.
Yeah.
So I was like, sure, I'll register. Yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
And then like, here, I'll sign your things and make you $5 in a couple of minutes. And but like as things are going, like
whenever Trump, really, I didn't care. I thought it would be funny if Trump won because it was such a long shot to me. And even my grandfather, who was in like World War II, fucking was like, dude, that clown will never win. But then he passed away and Trump won.
Yeah.
And just seeing the response, the meltdowns, and the people just like losing their fucking mind
shit.
as if he has that much bearing on the everyday person.
Well, for me, it was the falsehood of, like, I think the... Well,
like the drain the swamp thing, or...
Well, no, that's good to me. Like,
yeah.
Because, like... And that's what I'm actually seeing. That's where the freak out is he's actually exposing a lot of motherfuckers.
Well,
and
I feel like he's doing everything that he said he was going to fucking do. And this is the first time that I can remember in my life that a president did that. They didn't give all these promises and then fucking fall short.
Fall short, right? Or, for me it was like, Hillary Clinton. I've been studying the New World Order for fucking ever.
Okay. I like the New World Order.
I hate the New World Order.
No, I just like the idea because I think about. I mean, granted, it's kind of a socialist angle.
It's a totalitarian.
Yeah. But I'm just saying, here's this was explained to me by these guys. It was a group called the Descendants that I opened for in Fresno.
The band?
And the lead singer and I were talking out back, and I said, and I was like, dude, you like Star Wars or Star Trek? And he's like, dude, I'm Star Wars all day. And I said, sick. I love Star Wars. I'm from Modesto, where Star Wars was originated.
The Empire and the Rebels and
shit.
Yeah,
and I'm like, and he's like,
Star Trek
who
is
do
like
you...
some fascist totalitarian.
Yeah. But I go, he's like, so who's your fucking steez? And I go, oh, bro, always Han Solo. Han Solo is my fucking dude.
Yeah.
And he goes, yeah, I'd rather just have a job as a janitor on the Death Star. And I go, what the fuck are you saying, dude? And he goes, real shit. He's all, they've got insurance. They've got a dental plan. They've got a health plan. Granted, there's a high risk being on the...
though. That sucks.
But granted, it's a high risk job working on the Death Star. But there's all kinds of other jobs that you could work for the Empire and have these benefits. And
that sounds mad cucky to me, dude.
But dude, but then even whenever I just went to Disneyland. And in the Galaxy's Edge, which is Batuu, is the name of the planet that you're on when you visit Galaxy's Edge, Star Wars land. Mm-hmm. I was only looking at the First Order stuff because I wanted the badge. I wanted the fucking the little button badges that they wear on the Death Star, And I kind of wanted a hat, but I was definitely getting some Sith on. I was definitely going for the dark side shit. And there's a store for that, and then the rest of the land is all rebellion, right? Mm-hmm. It's all like, the rebel or the, what's it called? The resistance is what they started calling it, right? Mm-hmm. But I'm in the fucking Empire store, and this guy and I start talking, and I'm all, and I made a joke like, we've got, the Empire, or the First Order, they got like good dental plan and health, plans and shit, right? And he's like, bro, he's like, think about it. He's like, these resistance fighters, bro, like, that if they get injured, they don't got anybody to go to. You know what I mean? They got to figure out how to like wrap some plants around their arms and heal. He's like, we get like laser surgery and we're fixed like in minutes, so we can get back on the job, and get back to our paycheck. And he's like, but the resistance, dude, they don't got dental, they don't got.
Yeah, but they have freedom.
Yeah, well, but they also live in caves and they have to hide all the time. You know what I mean?
I'm trying to understand how this relates to the.
Well, I'm just saying, in reality, we still have that separation. We have people that are willing to conform to the government and fucking line up and do whatever they say, whether it's Bernie saying we're going to have bread lines now, or soup lines, or whether it's fucking Trump saying, hey, I'm just going to give you guys some more tax money back, or I'm going to take less taxes.
I just want y'all to have more money to do what you want with.
Yeah, dude, wouldn't it be dope if we could have Elon Musk as president, even though we can't because of our rules, but if he was president, we'd work 3 days a week for 12 hours a day, and we'd have 4 days a week of fucking vacation time because robots would be doing most of the shit. But that's something like a 70-year-old man or 80, whatever, however old Trump is. That's something that he can't even really fathom, because he's looking at coal and he's looking at labor force and he's still looking at human power.
I don't think Trump is in any denial that automation is in the future. I think what he wants to do is make us economically secure.
For sure.
So that we all can still have abundance even when we don't have the ability to work.
Right.
So the New World Order is totalitarian. The reason I'm against the New World Order is it centralizes the power to one governing body over the entire planet. So it's not about freedom, it's about slavery.
But don't you kind of feel like they're already here?
They are.
With the not Bloomberg, what's the fucking
EU?
No, what's the big thing that they all get together? Where they all get together?
Oh, Bilderberg?
Bilderberg.
Yeah. Well,
I'm
yeah,
just saying-
so those are the planners. Those are the management teams, right? And it's broken down. You've got like Bilderberg, Trilateral Commission, Council on Foreign Relations. Those are kind of the heads of the New World Order on a planning and management strategy side. And those are the sort of open ones,
right,
and not the round table behind the scenes. I mean, Bilderberg is more private. That's completely secret.
But with the internet and everything, we're learning who the players are.
Well, and the same sort of deal going back to what I was talking about the narrative of information being acceptable. There's been people who've been trying to tell us about that for years and years and years, but they've never been given a
I always
platform.
think of Ministry.
The
Ministry doing the song New World Order, and like I sound like a fucking weirdo whenever I like tried to show somebody that was like younger, like 20 years younger than me. I'm like, dude, you got to pay attention to this.
People
and I'm all playing the song, and all it says is the New World Order, and I'm all, see, the New World Order, and I'm all, look, that's Bush saying that, the New World Order, but that's all the evidence I have.
When Bush announced the New World Order, it was September 11th, 1991, exactly 10 years before September 11th. So all this shit's planned out and fucking
scheduled.
Yeah, and like they're all in the numerology and all this crazy shit. And so, anyways, let's backtrack back to the Trump thing.
Yeah,
with the New World Order is. Everybody was freaking out, like, no way, no Trump, like, I can't, he can't be president. And I was like, dude, why are y'all tripping, dude? The New World Order has it planned out. It's going to be Hillary. I've watched this cycle for the last, and I can break it down to you, too, with, like, Reagan all the way through, how they're all the same group.
Well, isn't there, like, somebody came up with a family, like a kid found the family tree, and even Obama's on the family tree?
Correct. Right, so
crazy?
They're all So they're all tied in, and and then there's other genetically and in other ways, right? Like business and financial and so on and so forth. Like a lot of people don't realize, like Clinton, for example, Bill Clinton, George Bush Sr. Considers Bill Clinton his adopted son.
Wow.
So like when we had you take it back, the last real president we had was Kennedy.
And he got killed.
And they killed him.
Because he was doing shit.
Because he was trying to get us off the Federal Reserve.
Yeah.
He has speeches where he talks about the secret societies, and he's like, dude, no free country should have secret societies running their shit, basically, is what he said,
Well, but do you think that's why the mob killed him, or do you think that that's why the government had the mob kill him?
The real theory is it was George Bush Sr. was one of the main players in his assassination. In fact, they've found
to get things back on track.
Because he goes back. His grandfather was Prescott Bush with the Brown Booth Harriman Banks and like all the elite powers, right? The Warburgs, the Rothschilds, you know what I mean? Like so, the Harrimans, which Prescott was married into, was all that. He's Skull and Bones, which is like the Yale Esquite. So these are the real power player families, right? Which is another reason, like on our mainstream, again, the narrative now is the richest man on earth, Bill Gates.
Yeah.
Bullshit. It's the fucking Rothschilds, blah, 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 blah. Think about it. If you're the real rulers and the real rich people you're not having Forbes put your fucking name on all that shit.
Your name isn't even out there.
I fucking own Forbes, bitch.
Yeah.
You know, you keep that shit quiet.
No, I own Hershey. who
Right.
owns Disneyland, who
Right.
owns Forbes.
So we keep it all,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know, so they can control because they don't want that known because
Yeah.
then they can't do their operations, right? So,
Yeah.
anyways, so blah 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 blah. Hillary's next in line for this continual stream that we've had basically since Kennedy.
Right.
We got close with Reagan, but the New World Order elites put Bush in with Reagan as their guy, right? He was their plan.
Well, I heard that Nancy Reagan had some because they tried to like label her a communist at first to like shut her down, like during the Red Scare kind of thing, and they were because Reagan was in the Actors Guild or whatever, he was able to like convince them that she wasn't a communist and blah blah blah.
I think that could also be a tactic that the for lack of a better word, we'll just say the New World Order elites,
Yeah,
you know,
keeping everybody in
to
line, check 'em.
to distract, you know, like you know, because they're
Yeah.
the good people to throw mud
right,
to taint the image, right?
right.
And then also too, so they put Bush in because he wasn't going to run with Bush. He basically was forced. Bush was forced upon him as his because they needed their guy in there,
Right.
You know,
You got to have a guy.
you got to have your guy,
Yeah.
right? And that's also
So
one
you
of
think Pence is the guy for Trump?
I think to a degree, but if you notice, like Bolton was one of those guys.
I don't know Bolton.
He was the one. He's the war hawk that was trying to go with all the fucking Iran shit and blah 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 blah. He was one of the neocons.
When was this? What like?
Just recent.
Oh,
I mean,
this is
he's
Trump?
been in
Okay,
it, but
okay.
yeah, like Bolton's the one. Remember when like earlier last year or whatever, like Iran fucking hit one of our ships, and then they did one of this and da da da,
And then they kidnapped a ship.
and they this and that.
I
that was
remember
all Bolton.
Okay.
You know, because Bolton, like, it would happen, and Bolton's like, "See, sir, we gotta fucking bomb their ass." And
you think
Trump's
he
all,
set it up,
"Nope, not doing it."
not falling for this.
And then fucking this
lure.
last Iran shit, and fucking he kicked Bolton out.
Yeah.
And part of it is too, you know, so we keep digressing, right? We're getting like
It's
something
okay.
comes
It's
up.
okay. It's a tangent, but it's still the same. Yeah, I'm just trying to fully understand.
Yeah, so there are
The
plans.
cloud,
There
the
are
whole
plans.
cloud,
and
you
it's
know?
a lot, right? We
Yeah.
could talk about this for hours and hours and hours, but we got to kind of stay on tracks for some things to get to other things. But ultimately, you know, everybody was tripping out like, fucking Trump. And I've been heavily political my whole life. I did politics for a living.
Do you want to talk about at all? I mean, do you want to mention at all that you worked?
Well, yeah, I worked
in
for
politics?
I did it for a job. I was a supervisor, and I
Yeah.
worked for the Democrats
Yeah.
for 6 years.
Yeah.
This wasn't like a little
It wasn't like
summer
a
job
one-season-
or whatever.
yeah,
Yeah, this
yeah.
I did it. You
Yeah.
know, paid, and I was a supervisor. I wasn't just
And you believed in it,
I believed I was on the right side.
right?
Even though I was learning and knew a lot about the New World Order stuff, I felt like I was on the better side of things until I just couldn't lie to myself anymore. I started realizing, like, dude, these people are fucked. They're just as fucked as what I thought the Republicans were, because the TV and everything else my whole life has told me that the Republicans were evil fucking,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, Southern. The man.
Republicans
right.
are the man.
Yeah, the corporate fucking
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
Which I've come to learn is not really true.
Now, do you think that that's an age thing? Because I kind of feel like for me it is. I feel like as I'm wanting more solidarity and less riffraff, you know.
I think there's a couple angles to it. I think my conservativeness is an age thing.
Yeah.
But I think the truth of learning the truth about, say, Republicans and history and things like that is more of an access to information
Yeah.
that I didn't have
That
before.
you didn't have, right?
So, you know, there's an old saying, and I can't, you know, I've heard people attribute it to different people. I always thought it was Benjamin Franklin. Other people have said Churchill and other people, but there's an old saying that I remember hearing when I was a kid and being like, that's bullshit. That'll never be me.
Yeah.
But it was like...
And now it's you.
and now it's me. But there was an old saying that was, if you weren't liberal when you were young, you have no heart. And if you're not conservative when you're old, you have no brain.
Interesting. That's
And I was always like, oh, that's bullshit. I'll never be a conservative. And then the older I get, I start realizing like how important certain...
yeah.
and what conservatism actually is.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, I think the idea that's been placed in our heads through music and TV and liberal Hollywood, honestly, is that
that's been blowing my mind. Like I've interacted with some stars over the years, and some of them have really have shown me the side that nobody talks about. Like Vanilla Ice, for example. Everybody's told me he's a dickhead. Me and Rob clicked. Maybe it's just because I'm a dickhead too. But like him and I fucking love that guy.
Right.
Like I get him. And
well, that's the thing too, right? It's like they are perpetuating a perception. We don't know the reality, or the case too is like how many actors that in the public eye seem like these great, wholesome, blah, 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 and then you actually see behind the curtain and meet them or know somebody who's...
I hate Tom Hanks.
And he's a fucking...
And I love
and
Tom
you realize
Hanks.
What a fucking asshole
but now I'm like,
what a
dude,
shitty person he actually is, right?
Yeah.
Because they're able to control how we see things.
Yeah.
And I think the big thing, like I said, is we're starting to have the ability now to look behind the curtain and see the truth and see how they've manipulated our thoughts and what we... How much of the world, and this goes back to the flat earth thing, do we know for certain, and how much of it has been told to us? Like, you know what I mean? How many ideas are not actually our real ideas, but we think they are?
So, I just read this yesterday. It was a meme, but I was getting ready to go to sleep, and I was like thumbing through my Instagram, and it said, tradition is peer pressure from beyond the grave. And it made me kind of go, wow. Like, it kind of made me think about, like, dude, like, because there is a lot of traditions out there that are traditional thought patterns that people just don't want to stray from because, like, their mom said so. Or their teacher that they looked up to said so.
Well, I think what we're doing is we're seeing an erosion of tradition.
Well, because of the information highway.
No.
Because
now we're seeing
exposed.
a breakdown of society because that makes us easier to control. I don't think tradition is peer pressure from the grave. I think tradition is tradition because it's worked.
Well, dude, so there is that too, but that goes kind of, what were we talking about, the Zeitgeist or the movie? About, like, that really fucking blew my mind to think, like, I knew that we were beyond 2,000 years old as a society, and, there was a certain time where we decided to start keeping track for modern time or whatever it is.
There's the Gregorian calendar and all that.
Yeah, but, like, that movie or that documentary, as it would be on YouTube, made me really go, wow, it's infinite. It could go back, like, there could be 15 Jesuses. There could be 15 2,000-year chunks that have gone by.
Well, yeah, you have the Sumerians and beyond, you know what I mean? Like, and how many, like...
But how many times has the story of Jesus been changed or used give us the basis of what we need?
Or going back to my argument of shaping our perception, growing up, how many times did you hear about the Sumerians? Most people didn't even know they exist.
Right. I heard about them in Ghostbusters.
Right.
That's the only time, like, ancient Sumerians, and they're talking about Gozer, and you know what I mean? But
that's just because
it's the movie.
Because the people, the industry knows,
the
real rulers know, so they're dropping this knowledge. But
they're making
in
fun
our
of
public schools, did we ever learn about the fucking Sumerians?
No. I can't say.
I think, like, to us, the ancientest history was like the Egyptians.
Yeah.
And then we pick up at the Romans and go from there.
Right.
But, like, they're not talking about the Sumerians and, the others that predated it. I can't recall the other civilization. But so that goes into the whole thing of, like, well, whoa, what information are they holding on purpose from us? Why do they not want us to learn about the Sumerians and the Emerald Tablets?
Well, like the Catholics, they have whole chunks of Bible. Whole scriptures
the Catholic,
that
the
we'll
Vatican
never
has,
see.
like, I think this might be a bit much. I don't know if it's like 3 miles or 30 miles, but they have like a crazy giant library under that we can't access. So think about all that information.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And they don't want us to know because the narrative. It's like,
well, they keep control, right?
And even if they leaked it out, we'd think it was fake news because of all the programming we've been doing.
What's power? Knowledge. Knowledge is power. So if they hold the knowledge and they know the truth about things, they can tell us whatever we want and we can fall in line.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, just like, one of the books that they withheld from the Bible was the Book of Enoch, which we can get.
Mm-hmm.
And once you read the Book of Enoch, it kind of starts to make sense of all the supernatural stuff that doesn't make sense in the Bible.
Right.
You know, you learn about the fallen angels and the fucking, 200 and Mount Hermon and, all this shit. And it's like, whoa, okay, now that's starting to kind of make sense.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, so, I've been studying this shit deep, and I'm lucky that I have the ability to do that. Like most people go to a job, and this kind of frustrates me with modern politics as well, is like most people, they go to a day job where they're fucking doing whatever all day, grinding it out, and then they come home and they got to take the kids to fucking class and da-da-da-da-da. And, then they're exhausted and they watch their fucking, hour or two of TV, and they're getting Jimmy Kimmel going, Trump's a fascist, and that's what they believe, and they feel like
and they go to bed, and that's what loops in their dreams,
or they're watching MSNBC or CNN, and they think that that's what it is.
Yeah.
Well, I'm lucky that I work for myself, and I get to do fucking nothing all day, quote unquote. I mean, I'm not gonna.
No, I got you.
And so I listen to stuff and I research stuff, and I've got podcasts and videos, and and I even do my own research when I'm not should be working.
Yeah.
And I've always been this way, but I'm lucky because I get to spend all day catching up on politics and on the news from various sources and stuff. So it's almost like a knife to a gunfight. Like when people try and like talk to me, I'm like, no, dude, like you don't know what you're talking about because you're
going off of Fox or you're off at MSNBC
or 10 minutes of news a day. I'm going through 8 hours of news a day.
Right. Right. Well, and that's the thing is, like, on my YouTube feed, I follow both sides of the political spectrum, but I also follow, I forget what it is, but it's like one of those news channels that has no fucking talking. It's just the footage.
Right.
And so all you're looking at is raw footage of whatever everybody else is broadcasting, but you have nobody telling you what to think about that footage.
Right.
And now you get to look at the footage and assess it yourself.
And I think that's like a problem too, right? Is a lot of people will have, like the rejection of Fox News, for example, is huge. Where people are like, oh, where'd you hear that? You need to stop watching Fox News, da-da-da-da-da. And it's like, I think you need to watch Fox News.
Yeah.
Because
you need to see
especially
both sides.
right now, it's so
polarized. Yeah.
Well, it's not even polarized, but like the two stories are so different. You got one side, which is a lot of the news, saying this, but yet this is saying something totally different. So you got to like take both of those in and go, well, wait a second. If they're saying this and they're saying this, one of them has to be lying.
Yeah.
And then from there, you have to go and start doing your research.
Like you said, like now with the...
But the fact that people won't even hear that other side...
Well, I'm just saying, like, for me, not having a side... I mean, even though I just found out I'm a registered Republican, because Trump sent me a letter to make sure that I was going to vote for him.
Yeah.
Even though I've never voted.
Yeah.
But I do try to take in both sides. But, like, what about, like, whenever you see these pictures online or these videos of people with these huge crowds, and then somebody else took a picture and there's only 15 people just in that area of the camera, and it's a totally empty fucking courtyard where there is no real protest. It's just a bunch of
But then you see the pictures of Trump's rallies, and there's like 30,000 people there.
But then they go, worst rally ever.
Well, they don't even show that.
Yeah,
you never see, like, dude, if you...
They don't want to promote it.
They don't want to promote it. And to watch, too, whenever they show his rallies, they only show the close-ups of him on the podium.
Yeah.
And they don't show you that it's a fucking stadium full of people with lines of people outside.
Yeah.
They don't, and just like the whole thing about, like, for example, Trump's inauguration,
right.
where they were like, he said he had the biggest, and nobody came. Dude, they took that picture at like 10 in the morning.
Right, when nobody was there. Yeah.
And then, like, later in the day, when he actually had the inauguration, it was fucking rammed with people.
Yeah.
So this goes into that deception.
Yeah.
And where we're getting our, you know what I mean? So going back is I was like, Hillary's going to be it. Like, why are you even sweating?
Right.
Hillary's going to be the fucking one. Just don't even fucking think about it. And, you know, and I always paid heavy attention. But this last one, I was like, dude, it's fucking Hillary. I know how this game goes. I knew it was going to be Obama. I knew it was going to be
Hillary,
you know,
too.
it was, she was the chosen one. The news was saying she's 90% lead. You know what I mean? Like,
She even believed it.
She was chosen. Well,
it was supposed to be coded.
It was supposed to be, but it was.
Yeah.
That's the thing. It was, dude, she lost a rigged election.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
like, holy shit. So what happened was I was at home, I was working. Normally I'd be
I'm
watching.
glad you said it like that, though. She did. She lost her own rigged election.
She lost a rigged election. They never thought she would.
And that's why they lost their fucking minds.
And that's why they're freaking the fuck out.
Yeah.
Because he
Yeah.
fucking turned on the light and the cockroaches are scattering.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, anyway, so that night, I'm at home, I'm working, and then I don't know, Facebook pops up, and I see somebody that's like, oh, no way, this can't be, like, you know, frantic, like, end of the world, and I was like, yeah, and I'm like, what? So I, like, tune in, and I see, like, you know, Trump's ahead, whatever, and then I start going, oh, shit, something's going on here.
Yeah.
Like, in a, like, I don't know how to put it, I don't want to say like spiritual, but like in a weird like, whoa, something big is happening.
Yeah.
This wasn't supposed to happen. You know? Like I'm like, oh my God.
The game has turned.
Holy shit.
Yeah,
holy
yeah.
shit. What's happening? And in fact, I felt ecstatic. And I wasn't a Trump guy. I didn't even pay attention. And I didn't care anything for Trump.
Were you still Democratic at this, or Democrat
No, I
at
was
this time?
completely independent.
You just
at
went
this
independent.
time.
Okay.
And I was New World Order. I was like, oh, both sides are fucking played. You know what I mean? Because the thing was, too, Trump wasn't even supposed to make it that far. It was supposed to be Jeb.
Yeah. I forgot about fucking Jeb.
Yeah.
But then he clowned him.
And he just destroyed.
He destroyed Jeb,
And
dude.
that's why I'm saying it was a rigged election, you know,
Yeah.
on a lot of accounts,
Right,
dude,
right.
because there's voter fraud and all this other shit, and she still fucking lost.
Yeah.
So anyways.
That's funny.
So I knew. So I was like, oh my God, dude, like, holy shit, this is actually a good thing. Like, this is, wow. And so he won, and I'm like, okay, all right, well, let's see here. Meanwhile, everybody else is freaking out, like, this is it, you know, Nazi Germany all over again. I'm like, hold up. And then the first thing he did was he took us out of TPP, the Trans-Pacific Partnership, which was basically like NAFTA on steroids. It was going to destroy us.
Really?
Yeah. It was terrible, terrible, terrible thing. And it was actually going to give power to corporations over the governments.
In America? Or
in America, worldwide.
Wow.
So TPP was a bad thing. And I knew it going in. And luckily it didn't pass under Obama. It was still in process. And Trump.
But he kiboshed it.
He kiboshed it. It was like one of the first things he did. And I was like, all right, okay. You know, like, all right, Trump.
Yeah.
All right, I'm paying it. Okay, you're swaying me here. Let's see what you got. You know, and it's just been good ever since. And the thing, I think more so, too, is the fascist thing. You know, people are freaking out like, he's a bigot, he's a racist, he's a this, he's a that. And then when you actually look at it, you're like, dude, he won the Ellis Island Award for his work with the black community. Mm-hmm. He found out about a black lady that was squatting in his building. And when he found out about this elderly lady who was black squatting, he didn't kick her out. He said, let her stay and we'll just pay her rent. Mm-hmm. Jennifer Hudson, when she was going through her shit, he put her up in Trump Towers. Like, he's done all these great things that also he never publicized because he didn't do them for that reason.
He didn't do it for that reason. Yeah.
And then when you start watching, I started watching all these, you know, because after that I started kind of digging into that. Like, okay, well, let's see what's going on.
Gotcha.
And you start watching these old news clips and old things, you know, interviews with him.
My favorite is where he's like, I think I might run for president in a few years. I think I might win.
Well, one of them, he goes, if it ever gets bad enough, you know, I might do it.
Yeah.
Blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And, like, if you watch, there's old clips, you know, where he's being serious and they're not publicity clips, you know. And you're like, damn, dude, he's pretty fucking solid. Mm-hmm. You know, like, he says some genuine good things.
And he means it.
It's
not just banter or fucking,
you know,
play to the crowd kind of thing.
But then on a genius level, too, it's almost like he prepared for this by putting himself in these public roles. WWF, now rural America, knows who he is a fan of him. So now come this time,
because he let himself play the heel in that.
He plays the heel. He doesn't, which is great because we're all fucking jackasses. Like he humanizes himself.
He let himself be
human.
Taken.
Right.
There's
a big thing with, there's a big, in the liberal, Hollywood thing, who, not Jimmy Kimmel, but one of those guys, is all upset that he thinks he helped contribute to Trump's presidency because he ruffled Trump's hair on his talk show. Jimmy Fallon.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
And that's like he hates that now because he humanized
that
Trump.
He was human, and
Trump let him humanize him.
Yeah.
Because Trump's a human.
Yeah.
And
I've heard from Trump Jr. that he actually he likes it, even if it's like negativity. He does.
He'll play. He has fun stuff, right? And that's great. When have we ever seen that?
Right.
And then people get all upset, like, oh, he's not presidential. Oh, he says all this and that and this and that. And it's like, yeah, you're hypocrites, though, right?
Yeah.
Because then you get that slick talker in there, and you're like, oh, he's just a fucking da-da-da. He's not real. And it's like, dude, I'd rather have somebody just fucking say it like it is and be who they are and a little bit crass than some slick talking dude that's doing one thing to our face and then another thing behind the curtains.
Right.
And so I started seeing like, well, wait a second, he's not this and he's not that. Like, and fascism, there's a protest every fucking weekend. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. If this was fascism, your ass wouldn't be out there protesting because they'd be rounding you up.
Yeah. Yeah.
What, like, it's not computing. Well, you're saying one thing and the reality is another. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And so that started to get me. And one of the big things that kind of clicked was right around the Trump, I don't know if it was before or just after the presidency, was the Berkeley riots with Milo Yiannopoulos.
Right.
So I tune into the news or whatever, I'm watching, and I see them fucking rioting over this white supremacist at Berkeley.
Right.
And I'm
who turns out to be gay.
Married to a black man.
Yeah.
So that was the thing, right? Like, I see these riots, they're fucking, smashing windows and all this shit and white supremacy. And I'm like, well, I've never even heard of this guy. Whoa, there's a white supremacist? So I look up Milo Yiannopoulos and boom.
Yeah.
He's a gay fucking married to a black man, eccentric. And then I listen to some of his speeches and I'm like, there's nothing.
Cool. I think he's kind of funny.
He says
the way he because he doesn't even protect the gay community. Even like he doesn't coddle them. I mean,
right?
Not protect them per se, but he doesn't coddle them and give them any superficial
rights. Well, he doesn't kowtow to them, right?
Yeah,
he stands his ground on his.
So like even whenever they're like mad at him, he's like, dude,
who gives
get
a
fuck? A grip?
Yeah,
like
So and I'm not really a Milo fan. Like
I kind of am. I mean,
I like him. I like a lot of his points.
Yeah.
But he just gets on my nerve. Like, as a flamboyant, I'm like, oh, God, all right.
But what about, what's his name? The little Jewish kid.
Ben Shapiro?
Shapiro. I love that guy.
I like Ben Shapiro.
I like the way he fucking just
destroys.
Elbow drops people that try to come at him with their liberal, like, perspectives. And he's just like, well, that doesn't make any sense, and he just like, like laser fucking tongues their ass, and then they're all.
I mean, he's like a fucking child genius and shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
So
I would I would vote for him if he ran.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
My only thing with Ben Shapiro is he's a Zionist, and I'm skeptical about Zionism. That's the one area where I'm a little hesitant with Trump is his Zionism, but we'll see what
Trump's
happens.
a Zionist too?
I don't think he is, but he coddles Israel quite a bit. But we'll see what happens.
Right.
There's.
Well, isn't he Jewish? I thought he was Jewish.
No, not Jewish at all. No. But all his kids are married to Jews.
Okay.
Like Jared Kushner.
Okay.
Things like that. So, and that's another thing. Going back to the like racist, blah blah blah, anti-Semitic, Nazi, and you're like, how's he anti-Semitic? His fucking daughter is married to fucking a Jew.
Yeah.
He's fucking giving daps to net.
I really up until this moment, I really did think Trump might have been Jewish.
No, not at all. No.
I always wanted to be Jewish, but I found out that it's actually like a genetic thing. You can't just choose to be
Jewish, right?
That sucks.
Well,
because to me, as a kid, it just seemed like I was like it seemed like there wasn't a lot of Jewish people that I grew up with, and everybody was like all about Christmas and Santa Claus, and I liked
Hanukkah.
I like the idea
menorah.
of the menorah and because I've always thought other traditions were interesting.
I think you just wanted 8 days instead of 1.
No, because I knew that they were smaller gifts. You know what I mean? I knew that it was like tiny gifts, but I think that I liked the conservative side of that whole idea, but I also like
tradition.
I also like Japanese tradition too.
Right.
You know what I mean? There's
Right.
days where I want to zen the fuck out and like sip tea and be peaceful and move fluidly. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Does that make sense? I mean, I'm not there's days
Aspects of culture that appeal to you.
right,
Yeah.
right, and not a lot of Catholicism that I grew up in appeals to me because to me it seems more
Strict.
New World Order.
It is.
It's like stand up, sit down, stand
Now,
up, sit down. We're going to be here for 12 hours talking about God. Like,
There's,
come on, man.
there's some positive aspects to Catholicism, but Catholicism's been infiltrated by the Jesuits for many, many years. The Jesuits they were called like the Vatican assassins. They're like the covert operators. So the current pope that we have now is actually a Jesuit. They call him actually the Black Pope. So he's supposed to be pretty evil. He's also trying to push.
Is that why I like him?
Well, he's like pushing, like that's why you see him trying to fucking bond us with all these religions and stuff to start the one world religion. Because under the New World Order is a one world government, one world religion, one fucking power structure over the earth.
Right.
I always attribute it to Pinky and the Brain. What are we going to do today? We're going to take over the
Rule
world.
the world.
That's the New World Order.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's this plan. That's what the whole EU thing was. And that's why Brexit is so fucking awesome. Because the first step, because the New World Order is set up in the quadrants, right? And the first step was getting Europe as one governed body.
Right.
So
the
what
UN or
the
whatever.
EU.
Or EU. EU.
Now the UN is actually one of the main catalysts of the New World Order. They are one of the biggest bodies to try and get this. So that's why you see like, a lot of people talk about like, oh, if there's fucking whatever happens in the United States, it won't happen because, Americans aren't going to shoot Americans. Yeah, they know this. That's why they're going to send in the blue helmets of the UN because these foreign nationals aren't going to have any problem fucking rounding us up. And that's why everybody got mad at Trump because he's like, why do we need the UN? The Cold War's over. World War II's over.
Yeah.
Why are we giving these numbnuts any fucking... They're not doing shit.
Hey, did you ever see any trains of the UN artillery and shit going by out in your area?
Not
of the
physically.
world?
I mean, I've seen videos of different
I
things.
physically saw it.
Yeah.
And like now, given this discussion, honestly, it kind of changed my perspective of what I was seeing because at the time, it was around the time that I was seeing it. I was because I had seen some UN trains go by with a bunch of shit on them that said UN, and I was like, "Whoa!" Right? But at that same time, Jesse Ventura is out with his conspiracy theories, and he's finding these coffin boxes, and he's finding these camps. And
Oh,
he's
yeah,
finding
yeah,
all
the
this
camps,
shit.
yeah,
and
yeah.
I'm like going, dude, the New World Order, the New World Order.
Yeah.
But then, like right now, what you just said about the leaving the UN, leaving the Brexit, like the transcontinental, thing. It's making me think about like maybe we were shipping that shit out.
No. That was all it was all
coming
for a
in?
year.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Because, like I said, they never thought she was going to lose.
Right. But I'm saying during Trump's time, that's when we started seeing people were posting these videos.
Because he's at war with these fools.
Right.
Well, the caskets and the camps, those go way back. Alex Jones covered all that shit. Like, those go way back.
Yeah.
They've been in place, and now I feel like they're like, fuck. We just made all these caskets, and now this motherfucker, things like that. Because this was not how it was supposed to go.
Right.
And, and we're like Brexit. Brexit wasn't supposed to happen, dude. That's the big argument with Brexit was the people of England go, yeah, we want to leave. And the fucking government, kept going, no, well, actually,
and even in the news, in the BBC News, I was seeing, they were like, we just think that they just didn't know what they were voting for. They kept making it the people's fault.
And then they also twisted into, oh, they're racist. That's
Yeah.
why, and it's like, no, man, these aren't racist people. They're people who realize the magnitude of their freedom and what's happening to them, and that they don't have any control over their own sovereignty because the UN calls the shot, or the EU calls the shots. Another thing that people don't realize about the EU is the people that run the EU aren't elected officials.
Right.
So the people of these European nations...
And they can be there forever, right?
Yeah.
Because they're not elected. So
and
they're
so
just
the people of these nations have no control over what happens to them.
Mm-hmm.
You know? So...
Interesting.
So, Brexit was a wonderful thing. Yeah. And we're seeing an awakening happen. We're seeing people go, wait a second. They're waking up to the New World Order, whether they know that that's what they're waking up to or not.
Right.
Just like Brexit. I don't think a lot of the Brexiteers realize that they're breaking the New World Order. I think they were just looking out for England.
Right.
Right. Because they're seeing what's happening. Dude, there's so much, like you said, when you start digging into outside of the mainstream media and you start digging into videos and people on the ground and independent reporters who are digging up stories and, things like that, you're seeing like how fucked, a lot of shit is.
Yeah.
So
it's like we've had this really nice facade for so long.
Well, they've had us in a lull,
And with the internet, it's like we were able to go behind the facade and see it's just a bunch of 2x4s holding up.
Well, remember a couple years ago when they were pushing net neutrality?
Right. What happened with that?
That was
that was part of the New World Order.
It's a bait and switch, right? They're making it out to net neutrality, just like they've done with all kinds of what they'll do is the language sounds good, but it's the opposite of what it is.
Right.
So what they tried to do was sell net neutrality to the masses as as net freedom, when it was actually net control.
It would be kind of like China.
Right.
Like where they
locking
have
down,
very regulated.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Which they're still kind of doing, because now they're getting YouTube and Google aboard. And so now you're seeing censorship.
People don't realize
on the
exactly,
next level.
like Sergey Brin or whoever, one of the heads of... So, the head of Google is married to the head of 23andMe, whose sister is the head of YouTube.
Wow.
So people don't realize how integrated these things are.
I mean, I always suspected, but
right.
That's a fucking crazy connection right
so
there.
So Susan Wojcicki runs...
You do 23andMe yet?
Fuck no. Fuck no.
You don't want to give them some DNA so that they can fucking time
I know my
your
heritage.
ass later?
I know my heritage.
Yeah.
I know my whole family lineage. I know when we came to America.
Right. I'm curious to see how black I am.
Not very.
I think the Portuguese.
I've seen you naked, bro. You have no black.
Dude, I've seen a lot of weird genetic pools in a lot of different genes.
Some of that too, I'm a little skeptical of,
Well, dude,
but either way,
what
right?
If, what if that, how do you know? You're sending them $100 and your fucking DNA, and they're just all, hey, guess what you are?
Yeah,
you're half Ronald McDonald.
Right.
That's what we decided.
It could be whatever.
You're related to McDonald's.
I mean,
you should eat more.
But also, what are they doing with now? They have your DNA, and it's just like.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Time Police. What's the Tom Cruise movie? Where they're fucking coming after him because of something he does in the future.
Oh, the precog shit? Yeah,
you know what I mean?
That's all Philip K. Dick.
Now they have your DNA. They can put your DNA anywhere.
Right.
And guess what? Now you're a murderer.
Right.
And you just get
we don't know
because we don't like the way you're thinking.
Well, just kind of like a lot of the when people started to realize Facebook and they sell all your data and they do all this. What you don't realize is the same agreement that you signed for Facebook that allows them to do all this shit with your information is the same contract that you have with 23andMe.
Yeah.
So your DNA isn't private. You don't know what they're doing with your DNA.
Yeah.
And people are just giving it up willy-nilly because they're like, maybe I'm 2% black.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
Yeah. I mean,
and,
that'd be cool if I was 2%. Because then it would explain a lot, I feel.
Yeah.
Just in my culture.
Yeah.
In my own personal universe.
But, I feel lucky that I do know my family history.
I just feel like some people are, I feel like, especially people that are racist, I feel like they're almost deniers of, what I was talking to you before we went live, about how America's the melting pot, and we are all kind of, thousands and thousands of generations of mixing.
Well, that's another thing too, right?
world.
Like people that are racist. Like I think
they're denying their own culture of Earth.
Well, I just think that the actual racist is like such a fucking. There's like, if you watch TV and media, you know, they make it out like there's racists around every corner.
Right.
When I think, you know, the actual racists in this country of what do we have, 3 billion in this country?
Yeah.
I think the actual amount of racists could fit into a football stadium.
Yeah.
Like it's so minute and insignificant.
True racism.
True,
Like
real
to the
racists.
core.
Like actual KKK.
Like a lot of people
and-
might act racism or act out in a racist way because they're surrounded by people that they think are like, dude, I've had like whenever I was in Texas, I had people say shit to me dropping a hard NR. You know what I mean? And
Really?
and I would play into and I'd be like, right, you know what I mean? Because
I've never heard
dude,
a hard.
I heard it from a total stranger at a public pool, bro.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Basically, he was calling out the Hispanics and the blacks at the pool and saying that they ruin everything. And he told me because I was a white guy standing next to him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he said it to me, and I was like, right?
I've
and in my
actually
mind, I'm like, I'm Portuguese and Cherokee.
I've heard more racism from blacks and Hispanics than I've heard from whites my entire life, especially the Mexicans, dude. My Mexican friends are like, they
fuck white people.
No, black people.
Oh, they hate black people?
They hate black people,
That's
dude.
crazy.
And
I think that
like there's a term mooly.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
And I'd
Moulin.
never heard that before.
Oh, dude, that's like big time New York movie. I like that's you freaking Moulin. Like it was. I guess
I think it was Moulin.
Being in hip hop, you know, there's actually a song where they say something like parody.
But so it's like, you know, they make it out like, you know, it's whites are the only racists, and that's like that's not true. You know, and I think
I think every culture has a bit of racism because they're trying to.
My girlfriend's Asian, and she talks about how Asians are fucking racist against other Asians.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
You know, she's from a certain place, and I brought up my friend of mine who's from another place, and she's like, "Oh, that's jungle Asian, like they're fucking shit," you know. And I was like, "Oh, fuck, whoa."
Well, but
if I were to say that,
but even whites have our own racism amongst ourselves.
Sure, the Irish and
you have white trash,
Polish,
or you got rednecks, or you got Poles. Yeah, the Poles.
Well, and even like they cast this wide net.
Growing up, that was the funniest. That was the joke. Was the Polish joke. Like in the 80s, right. I just remember that was the white person joke was the Polish.
The Polacks, yeah.
You know what I mean? They were the dummies.
You hear about the Polak flashlight,
Portuguese.
It's fucking, it's solar powered. You know, like, shit like that.
But like, I'm Portuguese, and then I come to find out,
put the screen door on the submarine, you know?
The Portuguese jokes are the same as the Polak jokes, though.
Right.
You know what I mean? I like, hey, how do you, what was the Portuguese doing in the tree? Well, he's raking the leaves. How do you get a one-armed Portuguese out of the tree? Wave to him.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
so.
and being Portuguese, I thought those were funny because I'm like, oh, I get it because we're dumb. You know what I mean? Like. But then you have like this.
Oh, I get it. I must be a genius Portuguese.
yeah, I get the joke. I must be the genius that fucking figured it out.
I would have been president of Portugal.
Yeah. So true. So true. Well, and dude, I think that's kind of a funny thing about just culture in general is like, my kid is 21 now, and I'm such a fucking idiot, bro. You know what I mean? And whenever I was in my teens, I remember telling my parents, "You don't even fucking know what I'm going through." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's like we're all kind of going through the same cycles. Like you said, if you're not a liberal when you're young, you have no heart, and if you don't become a conservative when you're old, then you don't have a brain.
Right.
You know. Where did I put my coffee fucking mug? I gotta find. Did I put it? Where did I put it? I was drinking out of it.
Oh.
Do you see it? It's the Starbucks cup.
Oh, that was the one I was drinking out of.
No, it was
Not today. But...
No, it was a white one. And here's a coffee.
That's racist.
And it was a white mug with the it had the old Starbucks
You're
logo.
Racist. You got the white mug.
I must have set it down and they snagged it. Somebody must have put it in the wash. Am I crazy? Hey, Mike. You seen my coffee mug? That's so weird. What? It must be in the wash.
Austin. Turn this motherfucker out. 5, 1, 2, chill. Chill. Rainbows and cupcakes, man. Check that. Be like, gotta do it to you. Who you know stay focused as a fucking Buddha. Monk in your trunk, man, no rapper parallel. I thought I'd make a beat right around, what the hell? I'm gripping lumber in my caddy like I'm Frank Thomas. Big cat on the mic, but I'm not known for dropping knowledge. Known for spitting shit to make you go on a trap. Talk crap, get your thoughts put right in your lap. 44 mag rap game, Eastwood. Make my day, punk. I wish a fucker would. I thought I told them boys, ain't nobody stopping me. Keep it up, you're gonna end up with colostomy. Wrist Foster freeze, I'm talking hella paper. Cause I pump bass like 12 inch, so I'm Vegas. Rock a fire skate, why you play your hate? The way my voice sound, make a woman masturbate. It sound lovely, sweeter than a honeybee. I make them spin and change like they buying groceries. We all gotta eat, so I make beats, spit raps, drop the mic, I'm Audi 5000 beat. 44 mag on my motherfucking hit. I gotta go, bro, gotta go and hit this lick. Get my paper rub, get my finger paper cuts. So much fucking money, think I need an armored truck. 44 mag on my motherfucking hip. I gotta go, bro, gotta go and hit this lick. Oh shit, my paper rub, get my finger paper cuts. So much fucking money, think I need an armored truck. Chill. Tell me what it's hitting for. I grip a microphone like I grip a hater's throat. Give it a good squeeze, give me room to breathe. Jay Sly, stay fly, so sick I'll make a hater sneeze. Make him catch the flu. Dingo Mac is boo. Drink is 22. Then fucking bust the move. I am so cool, also old school. Still wearing starter jackets like it's 1992. Find me in the Knicks with a bag of tricks. Your rappers ain't here. Take a bag of dicks. Just playing, baby, part of my vulgarity. Living in a haunted house, there's no scaring me. I get the job done, no matter the city be. You think you good rapper? Then try dissing me. Now I break a rapper down, have him question his profession. I leave the mic hot like it was a murder weapon. Maybe a switchblade, your rappers bitch made. See these Nike lows, these are not made. That means they one of a kind, I'll make you think you're blind. Turn on the lights and fucking blow your mind. 44 mag on my motherfucking hip. I gotta go, bro, gotta go and hit this lick. Get my paper rub, get my finger paper cuts. So much fucking money, think I need an armored truck. 44 mag on my motherfucking hip. I gotta go, bro, gotta go and hit this lick. Get my paper rub, get my finger paper cuts. So much fucking money, think I need an armored truck. Chill. Shout out Gold, Kobe Kendricks, Kid Jones, DZ Fresh, come on. Team next year, and Mad Daddy, chill. Kel's Magic, chill. Sucker dick.
Well, I want to thank Steve Anonymous for hanging out with us today on the Wake and Bake. I hope you enjoyed it. Steve, did you want to tell anybody anything before we go?
Just turn off your TV. Stop buying into the lies. I mean, it sounds so generic and so stupid and like whatever. But, Bill Cooper, Beyond a Pale Horse, read that. Fritz Springmeier, 13 Bloodlines of the Illuminati. Good place to start. If you can find it, there's a good documentary called A Hidden Empire. It's like 3 hours long. Really breaks down things like the City of London and like all the power structures. There's another good documentary called Money Masters. I forget the guy's name that did it. That breaks down a lot of like the fiat currency system and how we're controlled through our monetary system through the Rothschilds and so on and so forth. And then another good one would be Every War is a Rich Man's Trick. And I think you can find that one on YouTube still as well. But I think most people just need to kind of give some alternative arguments a thought, and not saying you have to believe any of this stuff, but I think if you start to explore narratives that are outside of our normal, mainstream thing, you might learn some things. You might agree with them, you might not, but it's pretty interesting when you start to realize a lot of the history that's been either manipulated or withheld from us. Again, like going back to the Rothschild thing, like I don't think a lot of people even know who the Rothschilds are.
When you said Rothschild earlier, it made me remember that there was a guy that just got arrested for impersonating one for like the last 50 years.
Right.
You know about that guy?
I saw that.
Yeah. And dude, they fucking put him on blast.
Yeah.
And he's looking at like prison time, and he's like 70.
You know, they say even above the Rothschilds is the Pacers and the Merovingians. So there's these families that we don't even know about. That
are never going to be in Forbes.
Right. And, the Rothschilds own, the Federal Reserve. And, there's a crazy story about how they basically own England with the Battle of Waterloo. So they basically funded both sides of the war.
Right.
The Rothschilds, basically, every bank is a Rothschild bank. And Meyer Amschel Rothschild took his 5 sons and said, you're going to be in France, Sweden. You're going to be in blah, blah, blah. So that way, if the king of this country needs a loan, everybody's going to us. Mm-hmm. So we're all good. Mm-hmm. So what happened was, the fucking, this is where apparently they got the big power play that really set them. And they even made a movie of it back in the fucking black and white days. But so they...
What's it called? Do you know? Or do you remember?
Fuck, I don't. It's on the tip of my tongue.
Yeah.
I can see it in my head, but I can't, But basically what they did was they funded both sides of the Battle of Waterloo with Napoleon, Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And Rothschild had somebody stationed on the Channel side. So as soon as the war was over and, England lost or whatever, I think, or maybe England won.
I don't remember.
Whatever it was, right?
Yeah,
I can't remember. But that guy fucking rushed back and fucking brought the news before the news had gotten over there. So Rothschild goes into the, the stock market of the time and is like, oh, fuck, sell.
Yeah.
Since he was already the big shit, all the other people were like, oh, fuck, dude. Like, because they knew he had the insight. So they all started selling.
And then they started buying.
And he fucking swooped it all up because he knew the truth. And then the next day, the story comes out and then, sucks to be y'all fucked up. And so he did a big, huge power grab. So there's a lot of shit like that people don't know.
Yeah.
And like I say, kind of going back to the history of the presidents with Prescott Bush and the Skull and Bones and, Bohemian Grove and, there's all these little things.
I do like Bohemian Grove.
Right.
I always wanted to be a part of that.
Yeah.
Even if it's a sacrifice,
So, even if I'm the one dying.
Yeah, even if I'm the one, I would be like, oh, so this is how it goes.
Well, that's that was kind of a big eye-opener for me was learning about Bohemian Grove, where it's let's just take out of the equation, or, if it was just me talking to you and you're like, oh, what are you doing this summer? Blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, I'm going to this camp, what do you do? I'm like, oh, well, we sacrifice a fucking effigy in front of a giant owl and fucking all this shit. You'd be like, that dude's on some weird shit. I'm not hanging out with this dude.
Yeah.
Now let's apply that to the fact that these are the world leaders doing this.
Yeah.
And you're like, wait a second, they're doing what?
Yeah.
Yeah. Holy shit. And so...
What did that guy say to Alex Jones? I disrespect you for exposing that.
That's not very gentlemanly of you.
Yeah.
Fucking...
But he kept saying, he was using the term wrong. He kept saying, well, I disrespect you for that.
Yeah.
And I was like,
he was pissed, dude. He was pissed. That was what, David Fuck.
Yeah, I don't remember.
It's too early.
It's
Like,
just
you
a
know.
great video. It's
Yeah,
a great,
Alex Jones was all proud. He's like, "That was me.
Yeah,
I fucking did
I'm the
that."
one that exposed you. Dude, and you know how young Alex Jones really is? I think he's
like
my
a couple
age,
years
dude.
old. Yeah, he's like 45 or
Yeah,
46 or some shit. Yeah,
It's a trip.
You
Because
know?
he seems so much older even 10 years ago.
Yeah,
You know?
it's fucking.
In his 30s. Like, he seemed like he had he knew what the fuck he was saying. To me, he was like the modern Rush Limbaugh. But I never listened to Rush Limbaugh until recently, and now I like him.
Well, I didn't either, right? Because again, going to the media blast, like
Yeah,
I
they
never
make him
give
out to be this
Yeah.
crazy kook.
fucking Rush Limbaugh, fucking
Yeah.
kook, fucking conservative, da 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 da. So I never gave him a listen. Kind of like I was talking about the Milo Yiannopoulos thing.
Yeah.
Was like, you know, fucking white supremacist, and I'm like, whoa, wait a second. So I researched, and I'm like, wait, not
Yeah.
at all.
Yeah.
In fact, he's married to a black guy. What?
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know? Ben Shapiro, oh, fucking Nazi.
Racist, Nazi.
And
yeah.
I'm like, he's Jewish. like hardcore Jewish. Like,
Yeah.
wears a fucking, you know, yarmulke every day.
Yeah.
Like,
To me, it just really, bro. To me, it justifies people like Gigi Allen. You know what I
Gigi,
mean? I'm just
fight
saying.
it, you scum.
You know, like to me, I'm just saying, like those, like it makes those people not seem so bad.
Right.
You know what I mean? Isn't that fucking weird? I don't know.
Gigi's kind of a stretch.
But I'm just saying, like he's an extremist to the point where it's almost normal.
I like
At this
the
point.
one thing I did like about Gigi Allen was he was him no matter what. Fuck, you know what I mean? Like he was the most real.
You
Like,
seen the video where he did a TED talk?
he didn't do a TED talk.
Dude, he did.
He's been dead
Bro.
before TED was even
No,
a thing.
it was the early years. Dude, look it up. Look at the Gigi Allen TED talk. They had him come in and talk, and it was like a TED talk type thing. But they like maybe it wasn't called TED talk at the time. Maybe it was whatever.
Are you talking about the poetry reading in Boston?
where he beat the shit out of a woman?
He starts. Well, that's just a regular Gigi Allen show.
But it gets
Well,
crazy.
there's one where he was doing a reading in Boston.
It's called, but I'm telling you on YouTube, it's called Gigi Allen TED Talk.
Yeah, it's not a TED talk.
No, but it's still around the same thing where they gave you a stage and a platform. They wanted you to explain.
And people
who
started
you
getting.
were.
Then he started throwing chairs and
Yeah,
shit.
yeah.
It was like a book reading.
Oh, is that
Yeah.
okay?
Yeah.
I always wanted to do a TED Talk. I think I would have fun doing a TED Talk.
Dude, you know a good TED talk that you would love?
Ah.
Sam Hyde TEd
Okay.
Talk.
HYDE.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, dude. Sam Hyde's kind of like he's like you. I think you'd really like him. He's
Yeah.
like a comedian, but
Or I'd
like,
hate him because he's so much like me.
I think so. I think so.
I mean, you know,
'Cause I actually-
there's a
there's-
Highlander thing about people like me.
Because there's
You know?
there's actually like a few TED things Sam Hyde things where I'm like, man, he's kind of Jay Smith fish, but he's like hella red pilled. You know what
yeah,
I mean?
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
But anyway, so I guess like he bullshitted his way into this TED Talk about like the future, you know, like some bullshit, and he
Yeah.
comes out in like a plastic Spartan outfit.
Oh my god.
And fucking just bullshits for like 20 minutes. Like it's fucking hilarious,
Yeah,
dude. Like you
I'll
got
check it. That's on-
Sam Hyde TED Talk.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
All right.
So-
Well, dude, again, Steve Anonymous, you take your red pill. You're a gem. Thank you so much for being on the Wake and Bake this morning, and I hope next time that we see each other, we have just as fruitful of a discussion. I love you.
Love you, buddy.
All right.
Sexy young thing, putting coke in the nose. He walk with a cane, yeah, he's a pimp for show. He made a little cash, then he bought a nose. Sweet James Jones on that fucking microphone. The way the bass hits, you would think Elvis Bone. Way more game than Bishop Don Wong. He get his dick sucked while eating shrimps and prawns. You're the best around. Only drives a caddy, man. Fuck a Benz. Wood grain on the fucking steering wheel. Keep it under 45 so the cops don't squeal. Black codeine. Many way too trill, baby. You ask about a Al Sharp tongue, baby. You wanna ask about I'm so pricey, I'm so bouncy. The 84 caddy, same color as coffee. You're the best around. No one's ever gonna fucking keep you down. Stay down to the ground, you're the one. 12-15s, man, the bass straight pulling home. Spitting game, pig Latin, all action, no slipping in the fucking turning line with a candy paint dripping on turning heads, man. Got you fucking jealous with the run thing. Similar to Goodfellas, what you saying? I ain't hearing beating down the block straight. Breaking ditches, you on fucking top nines, Carter cop. That's the only way you fucking shut us down. Come on, fucking shit, so I'm pound, shaking the ground. Bitches know my fucking sound from around town. I'll be killing. You're the best around. No one's ever gonna fucking keep you down. Stay down to the ground. You're the one. You're the best around. No one's ever gonna fucking keep you down. Stay down to the ground. You're the one.
Bags full of cash, cars full of ass.
But I support the Buck Amendment. I think it is important to be have clarity here, and I think that Mr. Buck is right on the money here.
Give me like 10 more seconds. Oh man, this thing. Can we turn this up a little bit so I don't like turn my head into it? Can you like? How about now? Test. Hey, there you go. Yeah, I'll talk to you later. You're doing a good job. Oh man, okay. Can we reset the clock so I have another minute extra, please? Thank you. There we go. Okay, hey. I wanted to start sitting down anyway. Guys, pat yourselves on the back right now, okay? Let's do it. Come on. Everybody, I'm not gonna let you stop until I see everybody doing it. Let's pat ourselves on the back. There we go. You two, you're patting each other. That's cheating. You couldn't keep your hands off her, could you? Yeah. Hey, I don't blame you. She's a cutie. Hey guys, that pat on the back right there is for saving the world. I'm looking at young minds right now. You guys are all intelligent. I know that you did good in school. I didn't do that. You especially. You're very smart. Look at us. We're the machine that keeps the world going. Okay? I'd like to start this talk off with a parable, a story, if you will. I was at a college, a second tier, not an Ivy League school, a second choice school. And I was in a class, and there was a student in that class, okay? And the teacher, he was spouting some horrible nonsense about how it was something about how women's rights are not legitimate, something that everybody knew was false. But if anybody had spoken up, he would have taken extreme joy in failing them, okay? Nobody spoke up. One person raised his voice. One person started talking. The teacher couldn't believe it. The classroom couldn't believe it either. But in the end, he had logic on his side. And at the end of the day, he proved his point. That student was Albert Einstein. And that same sense of... And that same sense of childlike play and innocence that we know from Albert Einstein, I can sense it in this room today. TEDx, Drexel University, Next X. So you got to be thinking to yourselves right now, who's this 22-year-old kid up on stage with a chip on his shoulder and his heart on his sleeve and the world in his eyes? Well, that's a tough question, asking somebody to define who they are. I much prefer to ask, what inspires that person? What inspires you? What inspires you? What inspires you? I want an answer. What inspires you?
Like the fucking TED Talk.
You better find something, man. Don't worry about it. Possibilities. What inspires me is teaching African refugees how to program JavaScript. What inspires me is finding out how to use maglev trains to get resources to the moon. These are the challenges that tomorrow's going to face.
He's trying not to laugh.
How are we going to get clean drinking water to 2 billion Chinese people? You got an answer? Get inspired. I'm going to be picking on you. The second thing that inspires me are ideas. Ideas are amazing. Ideas are like currency. Ideas are what drives the world. Ideas are what we need to get to the next stage. And not just great inventions like the train, little things like this microphone that enables me to speak to the unwashed masses. TED Talks. TED Talks are another great idea. Where would we be right now? And we have to talk about it because great ideas don't come in all shapes and sizes.